Have you ever wondered why certain feelings, guilt, anger, inadequacy, won't leave you alone no matter how hard you try to push them away? You've tried ignoring them, numbing them, distracting yourself from them. Yet they return, whispering quietly beneath everything you do, influencing each decision you make, each relationship you enter, each opportunity you avoid. Maybe you believe your problems started recently with your job, your relationships, or daily stresses. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The pain you feel today was planted deep within you long before you became aware of yourself. Consider this carefully. What if the voice inside that tells you you're not enough isn't actually yours, but the echo of an unresolved story quietly passed down from your relationship with your father? Sigmund Freud warned us clearly. The figure of your father, whether present or absent, deeply shapes your unconscious, silently directing the course of your life. His approval or criticism, his presence or absence, his affection or neglect have all left subtle yet permanent marks on your psyche. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Reflect honestly for a moment. How many times have you felt trapped, stuck in patterns you never consciously chose, but couldn't escape? Isn't it possible these patterns have nothing to do with fate, but rather are rooted in an unseen past you've never fully acknowledged? Isn't it finally time you confront the invisible roots of your struggles, instead of unknowingly replaying old patterns your entire life? The answers you're seeking aren't hidden in the world outside. They're buried deep within you, waiting patiently to be seen. You may not even realize it, but much of your everyday behavior is quietly shaped by the unconscious wounds from your earliest relationship with your father. Think carefully. How often do you find yourself reaching for your phone, scrolling aimlessly, searching desperately for that one notification, that one message of approval or acceptance, even though nothing new ever arrives? And why do you continuously say yes to invitations you truly have no desire to accept? Could it be because deep down, you're still afraid of disappointing someone who may no longer even be present in your life, yet whose silent disapproval you still desperately fear? According to Sigmund Freud, these small, compulsive behaviors aren't random. They stem directly from your personal unconscious, your hidden mind silently using pleasure and avoidance to mask unresolved pain rooted deeply in your relationship with your father. You believe you're chasing pleasure, comfort, or distraction, but what you're truly doing is avoiding the discomfort of facing old emotional wounds. Ask yourself honestly, you keep chasing pleasure to hide from pain, but has that ever truly made you feel fulfilled? To understand why, we need to journey further back, to your childhood, a time when your truest emotions first began to be dismissed or rejected. Perhaps as a child, whenever you expressed anger, sadness, or frustration, your father responded with cold silence, distant judgment, or even outright criticism. Without conscious awareness, you learned that to receive his love and acceptance, you had to suppress your true feelings, to appear always happy, always calm, always good. Alfred Adler famously explained that every human being has a profound need to belong. You unconsciously decided that belonging meant hiding your real emotions, replacing authenticity with perfectionism and people-pleasing. Pause for a moment and consider this deeply. Who might you have become if, as a child, your real feelings had been welcomed instead of dismissed? Over time, the voice of your father didn't remain external. Instead, it quietly moved inward, transforming into what Freud called the superego, an internal judge who constantly evaluates, criticizes, and punishes you. Even when your father is physically absent, his judgment continues to live vividly within your mind. You recognize this internal father clearly every time you feel anxious, inadequate, or exhausted despite your successes. It's there whenever you bend over backwards to please others, terrified of their judgment, fearing that at any moment they'll see through you to the person your internalized father always said you were, not good enough. Consider Mark's hidden struggle. At work, Mark consistently achieves outstanding results, receives praise and recognition, and is admired by his colleagues. Yet, every evening when he returns home, he sits quietly in an empty room, overcome by a profound feeling of worthlessness. One night, Mark finally realizes a painful truth. He has spent his entire life striving to prove himself to an internalized father figure, a father who has never truly approved of him, no matter how hard he tries. Mark's mind has become a relentless internal courtroom, where he is constantly judged, found guilty, and sentenced by a harsh judge wearing his father's face. Carl Jung spoke powerfully of the journey towards individuation, the courageous act of breaking free from this internal courtroom, finally facing your true self without the burden of past judgments. Let this question sink deeply into your consciousness. When did you last live your own truth instead of constantly defending yourself in an invisible courtroom? Yet, the story does not end here. Perhaps the most challenging insight to grasp is Freud's concept of compulsive repetition, the unconscious tendency to replay old emotional wounds again and again, hoping for a different outcome. Without conscious awareness, you find yourself choosing partners who echo your father's emotional distance, coldness, or criticism. You unconsciously select individuals who mirror the unresolved dynamics you had with him, hoping silently, desperately, that this time you might finally earn the love, approval, or acceptance you never received. Or perhaps you've avoided opportunities at work, stepping back from leadership positions or chances to advance. Deep inside, you fear competition, rejection, or failure, feelings that vividly remind you of childhood moments when your father's silent judgment made you feel small, incapable, unworthy. Even as an adult, you unconsciously recreate these painful dynamics, placing yourself repeatedly in situations that mirror old wounds, silently hoping this time the outcome will somehow differ. Freud clearly explains that this compulsive repetition is an unconscious attempt to resolve past emotional conflicts. You recreate the same drama, hoping for closure, yet continuously experiencing familiar disappointment, sadness, and frustration. This repetition is not fate nor coincidence. It is your unconscious actively trying to resolve old emotional wounds by replaying them over and over again, often with new faces or settings. Pause and deeply ask yourself, are you unknowingly replaying the same old drama with new faces, hoping this time it'll be different? Perhaps now, for the first time, you're ready to clearly see and acknowledge this hidden cycle. Perhaps you're finally ready to understand that your patterns, your choices, your behaviors are not random, but rather the echoes of old wounds from your relationship with your father. Wounds still waiting patiently for your conscious awareness, compassion, and healing. It's time to gently face what you've spent years unconsciously running from. It's time to recognize the hidden emotional roots that quietly shape every aspect of your life, your relationships, and your self-worth. It's time, finally, to step out of that internal courtroom, silence the harsh internal judge, and reclaim your right to live authentically, freely, and joyfully, unburdened by the past. Today, let the unconscious become conscious, and perhaps for the first time, rewrite the story you've been living your entire life. You've spent your life believing that the discomfort you feel, the emptiness, restlessness, and quiet sense of sadness comes from not having enough pleasure, comfort, or external approval. You've chased countless distractions, hoping that each new experience would finally silence the ache. But here's the powerful, often uncomfortable truth. Your pain isn't caused by lack of pleasure. It's from a deep, lasting disconnection with your own authentic self. Think of your life as a beautiful house. From the outside, everything seems vibrant and inviting. There's music, laughter, bright lights, and endless gatherings. Parties designed to attract and please everyone else. Yet, step a little closer, look through the windows, and you'll see that inside, the house is strangely empty, quiet, untouched. And in a small hidden room within that house sits a child, your inner child, quietly waiting for you, patiently hoping that someday you'll finally step inside and acknowledge them. Every time you chase pleasure or distraction, you're effectively hosting another party outside your inner house, desperately hoping the noise and excitement will drown out the voice of the child within. But pleasure can't replace presence, and distraction can't heal disconnection. No matter how many guests you entertain, no matter how loud the music plays, the child within you remains alone, unheard, unseen, quietly longing for your attention. Ask yourself honestly right now, when was the last time you truly stepped inside to meet this child? To listen to their pain, their dreams, their unmet needs? How long have you been avoiding this quiet encounter, afraid of what you might find? Maybe you've always known this at some level, sensing it beneath the surface. Perhaps you felt it during quiet moments when the parties end. The lights dim and the silence returns, stronger and more unsettling than ever. You've wondered, what am I really trying to escape from? Yet quickly you invite more noise, more distraction, and more guests, always avoiding that quiet, empty room inside your house. But here's the truth. You cannot run forever. Sooner or later, every party must end. Every distraction fades, and you're left face to face with the silence you've always feared. Yet, within this silence lies your deepest healing, your truest freedom. Within this silence is the child you once were, carrying the wounds from your earliest relationships, especially the unhealed wounds left by your father. Your entire life has been shaped by the unconscious patterns formed in those early years. You've unknowingly repeated cycles, hoping that new people and new pleasures might somehow rewrite your emotional past. But healing doesn't come from repeating old patterns with new faces. It comes from finally, courageously confronting the truth you've been avoiding. Carl Jung called this journey individuation, the courageous act of reclaiming your authentic self by facing all that you've hidden in the dark, quiet rooms within. Individuation isn't comfortable or easy. It requires bravery, honesty, and a deep willingness to sit quietly with your discomfort rather than run from it. It asks you to finally acknowledge the child within, to listen compassionately to their fears, their hopes, their sadness, and their dreams. It requires you to gently ask them, "What have you been trying so hard to tell me?" This moment of realization is critical. Your life is waiting for you, not in the endless pursuit of temporary pleasures or external validations, but in the silent, sincere act of turning inward and finally reconnecting with your authentic self. You can continue hosting endless parties, chasing endless distractions, running endlessly from silence, but understand clearly, true joy, true freedom, and true fulfillment will forever remain beyond your grasp until you step inside, turn on the lights, and gently embrace the child waiting within. So now, the choice lies entirely in your hands. Will you remain comfortably numb in your avoidance, living a life carefully constructed around distraction and noise? Or will you bravely open that quiet door, step into the silence, and finally, compassionately face your authentic self? Ask yourself clearly and deeply, will I continue to host parties outside, avoiding who I truly am, or am I finally ready to step inside and meet the child within? Because here's the profound truth you must face. Your real healing, your authentic freedom, and your truest joy will never be found in another distraction. They're patiently waiting in the quiet room you've spent your entire life avoiding. And today, perhaps for the first time, you have the courage to open that door, walk inside, and finally become whole again. You don't need to change everything today. Just slow down for a moment, take a gentle breath, and honestly ask yourself, what have I been running from all this time? You've kept yourself busy for so long, filling your days with endless tasks, distractions, and efforts to please everyone around you. But deep down, beneath all that busyness, something quietly waits. Something important you've left hidden and ignored for far too long. Maybe it's the sadness you've tried hard not to acknowledge, the disappointment you buried because admitting it felt uncomfortable, or the loneliness that keeps whispering to you whenever you slow down enough to hear it clearly. At the core, perhaps it's that persistent longing, the desire to feel accepted, truly seen, especially by someone whose approval has always felt just slightly out of reach. Your father. You've spent years hosting countless parties outside your inner home, desperately seeking distractions and validation, hoping each new moment of pleasure would finally silence the ache inside. Yet every party comes to an end, every distraction fades away, and once again, you're left standing quietly at the door you've always been hesitant to open. Behind that door is someone waiting patiently, your true self, the person you've neglected and pushed aside, quietly hoping that someday you'll step inside and finally listen. Right now, you stand at a crossroads. You have a simple yet deeply powerful choice to make. Will you continue living in comfortable avoidance, distracting yourself endlessly and pretending everything's fine? Or are you finally ready, perhaps with uncertainty and some fear, to open that door, step inside, and gently face the person you've always been? It's okay if this feels difficult or uncertain. Facing yourself honestly always takes courage, but you don't have to take this step alone. I'm right here, walking alongside you, supporting you through every moment of this gentle, courageous journey toward reconnecting with yourself. If something today touched your heart, if a feeling or realization clearly resonated within you, I'd genuinely love to hear it. Your insights matter deeply, not just for you, but also for those who share this journey toward healing. What truth have you finally allowed yourself to see clearly today? When you're ready, please share your thoughts and reflections. Your story, your experiences, they matter. Opening up, even just a little, can be your first gentle step toward authentic healing. I'm listening carefully, ready to support you whenever you're ready to continue this powerful journey toward coming home to yourself.